Okay, so this is a little package. Got it in the mail today. Just so you know, it is my birthday, so it's kind of nice that this showed up. I know what this is, at least I think I do. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you look right there, you will see this has come from Wax Trax Records. So some of you might have an idea of what this is. It is a DVD, and there's another piece in here as well that I ordered, and that little weird sound was somebody's messaging me on Facebook here. I got my Facebook open on my computer, but anyway, yeah, so some of you might know what this is. I don't know how many of the folks in the local scene have this. Not that it really matters, I just don't know if a lot of the people in the local scene support this kind of stuff. I wanted this as a, you know, something, not only something to watch because there's a bunch of extra content on it, but there's, you know, it's a piece of history, and I just wanted to have a part of it. And I do have the CD that this was associated with this. Oh, there we go. Ooh, nice. So what do we have here? Let's just check the package. Nothing else in there. First of all, the Wax Trax Industrial Accident Records, the Story of Wax Trax Records. There's this. There's a bunch of extra content on here that was not in the, that we didn't get to see at the opening, or whatever you want to call it, at the film festival here in Calgary. So I got this not only because I wanted a piece of history, but also because I wanted to see the extra content. And that, I also did purchase the CD for this, actually from a store here in Calgary called Sanctuary Books. It's in Eau Claire, so if you're curious about that, hit them up. They've got a lot of Wax Trax stuff. If I'm not mistaken, they're actually an official Wax Trax dealer, or whatever you want to call it. They have some kind of like deal with Wax Trax to sell their stuff there, so that's cool. Anyway, got this. They sent some amazing stickers. Front 242. Probably gonna put this on my synth stand. A Wax Trax sticker, which I'll probably end up also putting on my synth stand. And the final piece is a Wax Trax patch that I'm going to be putting on my jacket, so I can rep the Wax Trax, you know, label and logo, you know, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's, I thought I'd just share this with you and kind of give you an unboxing. And yeah. Just wanted to give a quick little, add something to this video. I opened this up, there was some stuff in here. I'm not going to open up this booklet, but there's stuff in this booklet that if you haven't purchased it and you're considering purchasing it, I would highly suggest. There's notes and stuff and artwork and stuff like that. There was a little advertising card here, and there's the DVD right there. So yeah, and actually there's even artwork on the interior, and yeah, motherfuckers, this looks amazing. I'm glad it showed up on my birthday, and I probably will watch this today. Actually, I'll go through it and watch this, and you know, check out all the extra footage and stuff too. So anyway, I just thought I would add that little bit at the end there, because yeah, yes, history, industrial, goth and industrial music history, in particular the industrial part. Just learning about the history of industrial music, and it's inspiring, because you at least for me, because you see where, you know, a lot of your heroes came from and what they were influenced by, and you know, the record labels that were involved in promoting a lot of that music, and how important those labels are and stuff. Like, if you're not familiar with Wax Trax and you're kind of new to the goth industrial scene, Wax Trax was a very important label. They were pioneers in the industrial genre, and at least when it came to was it second wave or third wave industrial? Everybody gets the waves confused, so I'll just say when it came to industrial metal type stuff and industrial rock, Wax Trax was very important in that aspect. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, KMFDM was signed to them. Ministry, at least in the early days, was signed to Wax Trax. I mean, there's countless bands. I mean, Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails, he wanted to be a part of Wax Trax, but he didn't end up becoming a part of Wax Trax. But he was a part of a band, I think it was him and Al Jorgensen, called 1000 Homo DJs. And if you're not familiar with the song Supernaut, which I do believe is actually a cover of somebody else's song, I just can't remember who they covered, but Supernaut, him and Al Jorgensen did that song, and there's actually two versions of that song that you can find. There's the Al Jorgensen version, and then there's the Nine Inch Nails Trent Reznor version, where the Al Jorgensen version, Al sings, and the Trent Reznor version, obviously Trent sings. So it's, you know, there's all kinds of bands that came off that label. I mean, Front 242, if they hadn't been a part of Wax Trax, you know, they probably wouldn't have been as big as they got. And who else was on there? Thrill Kill Cult, I mean, fuck. Who else was on there? Chris Connolly, Revolting Cocks. Everyone knows Revolting Cocks. If you're not familiar with Revolting Cocks, go look them up. They do a cover of Do You Think I'm Sexy by, who's the original? Is it Rod Stewart who does the original? I can't remember, but they do an amazing cover of that song. And you know, there's a lot of history there, and a lot of bands got their exposure in the US through Wax Trax, and also that's kind of where industrial rock and industrial metal were kind of birthed. I mean, Paul Barker had his side project, Lead Into Gold. There was lots of stuff rolled off that label. So once again, I will say I just love learning about the history of industrial music in particular and our scene, because to me it's inspiring. And you know, like, you know, because I'm a musician and an artist, it's, you know, just knowing this history. And you know, I was too young to really appreciate it. I think I was, well, yeah, I was way too young to really appreciate it. But when Wax Trax was around, quite frankly, I was a young lad. I'm not sure how young, but not old enough to be listening to industrial music. Industrial music hadn't even crossed my periphery at that point, or goth music for that matter. And then when I started to get a little older and finding my music inspirations and stuff, like, you know, I was getting into Nine Inch Nails and some KMFDM and Typo Negative and stuff like that, and Marilyn Manson and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of missed that part of history, but I'm not one of those people who is like, well, what the fuck is that? Like, for me, it's like I like knowing the history, because, you know, it's kind of like this is where it's come from. These are the people who've influenced these particular genres of industrial, and it's just really inspirational, I guess. And I can get on the topic of like Throbbing Gristle and the industrial records too. Like that was highly influential too. Obviously, you know, if they hadn't existed, industrial music wouldn't be in its current state. And you know, to me it's important to know those histories. And like uh, how do I describe this? Because like I just, you know, and you know, even though I missed that point of history regarding Wax Trax, I was too young to really appreciate it. As I got older and I learned more about the scene and stuff and the labels involved and stuff like that, and you know, it's, at least for me, it was inspiring to read about and understand these labels and not just the labels but the bands on the labels, and listening to the music that came off that label. And you know, a lot of the bands that came off of Wax Trax, they, you know, there was a certain sound quality to those records. Like and I don't know if it's because Al Jorgensen had a large part in a lot of that music, but you know, there's a certain sound quality and there's a certain I don't want to say sound design, but because I don't think sound design was really a thing back then. They just kind of made the sounds they wanted to, or whatever was kind of like inspiring them or whatever. But there is a certain sound, and yeah, it's just, I guess I'm just glad that there's stuff like this and that inform us of our history and knowing that history. And I think, you know, even though I missed that, or I was too young to really appreciate it at the time, seeing this now and seeing this documentary, and not only that, but just like listening to the music that was on that label, it's, I mean, first of all, it's inspiring, but it's like, oh God, like when Lead Into Gold rolled through Calgary here a couple of years back with Ogre and this other band, I think she was called Omniflux or something like that. I can't quite remember, but she that, you know, seeing Lead Into Gold, I was just like, when, you know, it's just like seeing a piece of history. Like it's like, yes, this is important, and even though there's new stuff being played here, and the old stuff is kind of what made that band what it is, Paul Barker and Lead Into Gold, it's still, you know, at least I think it's important, and it's like you're experiencing a part of history, even though you weren't actually a part of the original wave of that history. It's just like, at least for me, I think I appreciate it more because these people are still doing these things, and they do still care about, you know, well, I mean, the bands, they care about doing more music and making new music and stuff like that, but, you know, with Wax Trax, the Wax Trax records and all the bands that are on, and being able to see those bands and all that kind of stuff, you're experiencing a part of history. And at least for me, I appreciate it a lot more because it's like, oh God, like, you know, honestly, a part of me is like, fuck, like, you know, if I had been a little older, you know, I may have appreciated this stuff a lot more, because at that point I probably would have been listening to it. But being that I was too young, I just really appreciate it. And I you know, seeing bands like even seeing Chris Connolly and Jason Novak at Terminus a few years back here in Calgary, and, you know, granted it wasn't the Revolting Cocks or whatever, it was Chris Connolly and Jason Novak's band Cocksure. You know, even Cocksure has a similar sound to, like, you know, some of those old Wax Trax era bands, and it's just like you're seeing this part of history. And at least for me, I really appreciate it, because, you know, they obviously they are still doing stuff, and being able to, like, you know, see that, and maybe even meeting your idols and heroes and stuff, and, you know, having a conversation with them. And granted, a lot of things have changed. A lot of these guys, they're not doing drugs anymore, you know, and, you know, it's just, I guess I just really appreciate the history and stuff like that, and I'm glad that Wax Trax, they made this documentary, and it's a thing, and they're trying to do these things in the honor of the original owners, Danny Flesher and Jim Nash. And I know Julie Nash or whatever. I think that's her last name. I'm not entirely sure. The daughter of Jim Nash. I know that she's trying to do these things in honor of their memory and her father's memory, and they've kind of started up their little their thing, and they're repressing some stuff, and they did the Wax Trax compilation for the DVD, CD or whatever, the DVD, and I'm just glad these people are doing this, because it's keeping the history alive, and it's keeping the memory of Wax Trax alive, and I'm glad I could be a part of it now and really appreciate it, because I think these things are important. I think it's important to know our history. I mean, the core of it is it's about music, but the other part of it is that knowing our history, knowing the history, and knowing our history as a goth or a Rivethead or whatever you want to call it, it's important, because if this stuff didn't exist, we wouldn't have like industrial metal, we wouldn't have Kim FDM or Ministry or the Revolting Cocks or the Cocks or Cocksure or Let Into Gold or or Greater Than One or whatever the other project that Paul Barker did, or The Multitude or Thrill Kill Cult or Front 242. Those bands wouldn't be as successful as they are because if this label hadn't existed. So of course I'm having a hard time describing like how I feel about it. Like I guess I just really appreciate this this stuff, and I think that's what I was trying to get across in this video. I just really appreciate it. I'm glad there's people that still care about this stuff, and I'm glad that Julie Nash or whatever, and whoever else was a part of their team to put all this together is still doing this. And even though I couldn't really appreciate it when I was much younger, I appreciate it all the more nowadays, because I love these bands, I love the history. I guess I'm just passionate about industrial music and goth music, and it's always interesting hearing how these things started and where your idols come from and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to get out and kind of articulate, even though it took me a while to articulate it. But I can't wait to watch this. I probably will give a little bit of do a little video on some of my thoughts regarding the extra content. I love the original documentary when I saw it in theaters. I'm sure the extra content is amazing and excellent, but I will make a video just kind of like going over a little bit of it, and I probably won't give away too much as far as like what's in it, because I think that everyone kind of that is interested would kind of like to have a nice surprise, and I don't want to spoil it for everyone, and quite frankly I don't want to spoil it for Wax Trax Records either, because I'm sure they put a lot of effort into this, and they don't want people spoiling their the extra stuff. Yep, that's it for this video. This has gone on for way too long. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my little talk there. And why I think industrial music history is important. I might actually do another video kind of about industrial music history, kind of a longer format video, why I really think it's important and stuff like that, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like.
And if you feel this video has value, please share. If you have any questions or comments regarding this documentary, please leave them in the comment section, or if you just have any questions in general, just leave them in the comment section, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. And if you feel this channel has value, please subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified when the next video comes out. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you fuckers are staying well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying mentally healthy. And see you in the next video.